Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 as Japan. Over here in Gifu, we just finished the Ancient Walls, which is going to provide us with a little bit of defense with regards to if Greece next turn decides to go to war with us. We do have some other things we need to work on though. We definitely want to get our districts online. I would like to get a harbour in here, again, because that will provide housing, culture, or housing, food, gold, all that beautiful stuff, and an extra trade route. However, that would take 74 turns, so this city is definitely going to need a source of production. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get that. But I think I'm going to get to work on the harbour, and then I'll come back and see if I can help this city out. Maybe through, I don't know, some lumber mills. Later on in the game, there'll probably be some lumber mills planted down here. I don't think I really have room to make the city very good. So this is basically a dead city in a lot of respects. There's not a whole lot that I can do to make this city better. One thing I could do is maybe purchase a granary. It'll work a couple of extra productive tiles. Not really a lot I can do until I actually unlock planting of forests to allow me to place lumber mills and stuff like that down. Kobe, on the other hand, doesn't have its basic stuff online. I'm going to go ahead and just place the harbour, again, because I want trade routes. Trade routes are really, really powerful and really, really useful. But I'm going to work on the granary and the monument. I'm going to go for the granary first because the city is reaching its growth limit, and then the monument next because that will provide me with the culture to allow the city to grow its borders, grab a few extra tiles, and do some other really cool stuff. Now, Mohenjo-Daro is about to, it's more or less finished what it's doing. I could maybe try to chop out another settler, but I think I have enough settlers just in general. I think I have like everything I need with regards to settlers for this general area. I could maybe make the argument for like an extra 1 or 2 for down here. This would actually be a really great staging area in the late game if I need to go to war with Korea. So that is something I'm definitely considering. So with that in mind, what I will do is I am going to come over to Kobe and I'm going to move Magnus over to Kobe with a view of chopping out a settler with these 2 forests somewhere down the road. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to happen, but it's kind of on the books for what we're planning to do. Still waiting for this art museum to finish over here in the capital city, and I'm also going to settle this city right here. I think I could get 3 cities pretty comfortably along here, so this is going to be one of them planted right here on the wheat tile. Not an amazing city by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have access to a few cool things. I'm going to be, of course, placing the harbour down here. Harbour, again, is just a really good district, and by placing it down we lock in its price, and we'll get to work on the watermill, granary and monument. There's military tactics. Now we did unlock samurai, but we unlocked them a little bit too late to make use of them in this game, but that wasn't really, it's not really something I'm worried about. Let's go ahead and renew our friendship with Gorgo. Are we actually losing loyalty in any of our cities? I would imagine that there's probably a couple around here somewhere that are losing loyalty. Actually, surprisingly not. I am going to renew that cultural alliance with them, because I want to be friends with her right up until the moment that I need to kill her. That's kind of the objective here. The other advantage, of course, is that I pick up a little bit of extra diplomatic favor. I would like to get friendly with some other civs in the game. Not sure if I'm going to be able to pull that off, but it's the sort of goal and direction that I want to take things. We do have a couple of really good niter tiles for Takasaki, which is great because these provide amazing production and gold. So these are definitely worth purchasing and building upon. 3 food, 3 production is about as great a start you can ask for in a city, especially if you're getting 2 tiles with those kind of yields. We have completed our theater square up in Yokohama, and I think it's about time at this stage of the game that I'm going to start like purchasing things like amphitheaters to get them going. I have a really, really good gold economy, and so that's kind of what my main focus is going to be on here, is getting a really good gold economy to not have to build these, because building these manually is going to take absolutely forever. I would like to get myself an encampment down at some point this game. I don't know if Yokohama is the city that I'm going to do that in. I'd also like to get holy sites down, and it's kind of, this is a really tough choice right here, because if I place it next to this theater square, it would get up to 3 adjacency, which would be really powerful. Or I could place it over here, for example, and get a 2 adjacency holy site. I think I'm going to place it here. Holy sites, I build them in half time. Faith is really useful. And I'll soon have the ability to make naturalists, so that's kind of like on the cards as well. Pop a mine down here in Kobe to give it a productive tile. It now has a good food tile and a good production tile, which is a really, really good start for the city. Not quite as good as the 2 niter tiles that I have down here in Takasaki, sorry, excuse me, mispronounced that city's name. But this city is going to be really, really great. Once it grows to these 2 tiles, it's going to be probably one of my strongest cities, even though it's settled pretty late. Just based off these 2 tiles alone. I have another World Congress here. I don't particularly care. I usually just click on Amber and then forget about it. These ones don't matter so much, and I'll vote for myself again just to see. I'm not really sort of invested in the outcome of these. These aren't such a big deal to me. Looks like Citrus passed and Saladin was voted to have more grievances generated against him. Over here in Cairo, our spy is finally ready to start stealing gold. Probably not the best place to start stealing gold in general, but it's going to be good enough. And it'll also reveal the Delicate Arch, which is pretty neat. But being able to like siphon off extra gold, even if it is, you know, going to take a while before we start getting an appreciable amount of gold from there, it'll just sort of result in us having more gold to buy amphitheaters, having more gold to buy museums, all that wonderful stuff. My production in my empire is very weak at the moment. That is like my one sort of big failing right now. But there's not really a whole lot that I can do about it. There we have unlocked buttresses, and we can place dams if we want. And we've also unlocked mercantilism, so we can plug in triangular trade. I think I'm basically done building settlers, so it's about time that I plugged that out and started plugging in maybe triangular trade. You can make an argument for urban planning too, because it's +1 production in every city, and I have a lot of cities. Newly trained builders, I think I'm going to keep that one plugged in, and I should really start looking into building my walls. It's getting to that time where delaying the walls anymore is going to be a bit of a problem for me. But yeah, I think the gold is really, really nice, but that +1 production is just extremely valuable over like an empire of this size, especially since I'm going to be planting down more cities, and there's potentially a lot of other really things. I actually kind of messed up here, and because they settled Mycenae, I'm not actually going to be able to do what I wanted to here. But I can at least pop a city down maybe right here, or perhaps right there, and get a really, really good harbor. With the finishing of mercantilism, we can start to work towards colonialism and natural history. And these are going to be two key technologies because they allow me to build archaeologists, which is really where we sort of start picking up in terms of tourism generation. All right, time to renew our friendship with Gilgamesh. And it looks like the Ottomans are a little bit more open to diplomacy now. I think their denunciation of us has ran out. So we might be able to get them as allies as well. It also kind of looks like the Sumerians have decided that war is the right path. I'll go ahead and establish a resident embassy in Sumeria, and then go ahead and grab ourselves another research alliance with them. Pick up a little bit of gold for that. You can also slot in open borders and get yourself a tiny little bit of extra gold when you're doing this, even though the open borders agreement is actually already tied into the alliance. We've also picked up another great writer, which is fantastic. Every little ounce of great writing culture generation, I will do my best to take advantage of. Watermill completed in Mohenjo-Daro. We also have a trade route up in the form of the lighthouse here. In terms of what we want to build next, I definitely want to get my hands on a theater square, but this is actually some pretty reasonable area for potential national parks. In fact, I think there's like at least 2 national parks here that I want to consider. So for example, I think there's one right here on these tiles. Let me go ahead and mark those out with pins. So I think this is a pretty good national park right here. And then as a sort of aside, there'll be another really good one here. If I can manage to grab all these tiles, I'm tempted to try to buy them. But if I can't get them all on here, I will probably just shift it slightly to the left and build it here instead. Just put a whole bunch of forests down here. But I definitely just start thinking about national parks because they're going to be a big source of tourism in the late game. It's a great way to convert my faith into tourism, which is, you know, one of the best ways to get late game tourism is to have a really high faith gain. Now, like I was saying about Mohenjo-Daro, since there's sort of a lot of tiles here that I don't want to kill if I can avoid it because they are potentially very useful in terms of national parks, I'm not really sure what to do with my theater square. This, for example, could be a really good seaside resort, but it's also a fantastic place for my theater square, so I'm having a really, really tough time. I think I might just go ahead and like pop the theater square down up this way. What I'll do is I'll buy this tile in Kobe because it's only 115 gold as compared to the 175 I would pay in Mohenjo-Daro, and then I'll swap that tile to Mohenjo-Daro and begin working on the theater square up here, because then I can place a theater square right here, and these two will sort of work together in terms of adjacency to support each other and provide each other with extra adjacency bonuses because I'm playing as Japan and they get extra adjacency bonuses on their districts. Fukushima, on the other hand, pretty standard stuff. Open up Granary Monument, and then we'll also place down the harbour to get ourselves a really, really nice boost of gold and an extra trade route. Little settler creeping around the island down here. Now I will want to swap in the card for settler production once I've finished a couple of these things in here. So not totally finished on that front. And again, I still am feeling a little bit of pressure to get my walls out at some point, but I'm not in a huge rush as it stands. Second, use of the Great Rider. There we go. Up to 28 tourism per turn. And it's around about now that I have about 6 of these great works of writing that doubling their tourism output would be something worthwhile. So picking up a printing could be really, really valuable here. I'm first going to work on the shipyard, of course, because that's just so useful. But that's definitely something I need to keep an eye on if I'm going to want to take advantage of my coastal bias here. I have a lot of coastal cities, which is really valuable for me because I'm playing as Japan, and Japan has some extra bonuses for, you know, fighting on coast and stuff like that. Also found, finally, I have cleared out, I don't know how many barbarians down here, but I finally found the barb camp and could start clearing it. And that's going to be a huge boon to my empire as well. Of course, improving the amber. I really should take a moment here to see if there's anybody who actually has any gold and wants to buy some of these luxuries off me. So for example, maybe Gorgo will buy incense for an appreciable amount of gold. But let me just go through the list here and see if anyone will pay a reasonable amount. Looks like you don't actually have oranges. You will not pay a good price for them, so never mind. What else would you be willing to buy? Would you buy my incense? For some reason, I can't add gold to my trade deals. I'm a little bit confused about that. Is that because you don't like me? Can I get an embassy? Can I get open borders with you? Huh, that's a bit of a weird thing. I can't add the gold. Looks like they'll pay 10 gold per turn for the incense, so I'm going to go ahead and take that deal. I think that's a pretty reasonable deal, all things considered. What about Gilgamesh? I think Gilgamesh is still pretty broke. Yeah, for some reason I can't click on this. Was there like a stealth patch that I missed or something? Gilgamesh won't buy oranges. Maybe he'll buy tea instead? No, he won't buy tea. Okay, so I need to have a look around and see who wants to buy what. Now, this guy's missing a lot of luxuries. He has no money, so never mind. Saladin, he will also buy tea off me for 9 gold per turn. I'm surprised nobody wants to buy my oranges. I thought they would be a big seller, but it looks like just basically nobody wants them. Fine by me. I already have a bonus for citrus, so cool. I'll keep 2 copies of them. Oh, wait. No, they voted to get rid. Citrus provides no amenities. I see. I misread that. I thought citrus provided bonus amenities. I guess they saw that I had a bunch of citrus and was like, this guy has too much citrus, and decided that, you know, I'm not allowed to have any fun. Fukushima is in a great spot for growth. It has a lot of really nice things in here, but it actually has such bad production that I'm just going to go straight to the harbor, and I'm going to, even though I've invested a few turns on both of these things, I'm going to go ahead and prioritize getting purchasing the Granary and Monument just to get this city going, because it has really, really bad production. It's getting 1 production from the city center and then another production from my government policy card. So I'm going to have to see if I could pick up maybe one of these lumber mills here to provide the city with a production tile. I am playing a little bit fast and loose with my gold as it currently stands, but I think that's perfectly fine for the stage of the game that I'm in. Also in the process of hunting down these quadriremes. I should not have put my galley forward. I kind of messed that up. I'd meant to take my quadrireme forward and attack them there, but not a big deal. This guy will probably take a hit and then I'll back him up. I was kind of hoping to keep him healthy, but it actually looks like they didn't attack me. And I did just get an industrial zone with adjacency of 4 or higher, which gives me an extra bit of era score, and we can keep clearing these guys out. So the completion of this industrial zone over here in Fukuoka leaves me with a lot of really good options, especially now that the city actually has some production. I could maybe get away with like hard building a archaeological museum. The problem is the city just doesn't really have very good production. It kind of has really, really great growth, but not a whole lot in terms of production. So definitely going to want to get my hands on maybe a builder in here to sort of improve a couple of these forest tiles. Maybe get a couple of lumber mills. I think if I got 2 lumber mills in here, the city would actually be in a great spot. And I do want to faith purchase 1 more settler, I think, and then chop out another settler, and then that'll be me done in terms of settler for the rest of the entire game. So what I might do in here is I think I'll just hard build the builder. It'll take about 8 turns, but it'll, you know, sort of pay dividends over the course of the game. We did just finish the harbor up here, so that's going to be me purchasing the lighthouse. And also, if I have the money, I'll purchase a trader in here so that I can get a little bit of extra yields up here to make the city into a little bit more of a useful city. I also want to get my hands on the theater square here. This looks like a really good spot for it. +2. It does kill a mine tile, but it is a snow mine tile, so it's not that big of a deal. I need to get my theater squares out because I want to generate as many great people points as possible. We've also just finished the thingy in here. What do you call that thing? The art museum. So we can start plopping in some of these great works of art. I am getting pretty close to the point where I'm going to want another great artist, and I'm also going to do a single theater square festival. Although there's an argument to be made for going for a spy right now, but I'll do the theater square festival and then get the spy. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. The timing on the appearance of this musketman is literally... I was one turn away from clearing this. A scout spawned and then a musketman spawned. That's incredibly unfortunate. I think this archer is now dead. And so this is going to be a pain in the ass to settle this. Not much I could do about... Like, that's just RNG, right? There's not much I could do about that. I only had a single unit down there. The warrior died earlier, valiantly defending the archer. So a couple of decisions I need to make. I would like to pick up cartography because that would provide me with +2 gold for my fishing boats. I have a lot of fishing boats, so that would be a lot of gold. I also really want to pick up printing for the extra tourism. I'm going to prioritize printing, and then I'm going to pick up cartography, and then we'll work our way towards industrialization, in particular because we want to get our hands on the electronics factory, as well as the +1 production from mine improvements. We did just finish the aqueduct in Nagoya, which means this city now has really, really strong production coming from this industrial zone. In terms of tile improvements, I'm not really seeing a whole lot that we could do for tile improvements in here. I think getting the shipyard would be pretty darn good as well, because that would give me extra production. But I think at this point, archaeological museums can't really be delayed anymore in cities that can actually build them in a reasonable amount of time. So I can't afford to delay that anymore. It just needs to happen, right? It's kind of getting to the point now where if I delay it anymore, things are just not going to be looking so great for me. I'm going to organize this by gold, so that we can find a city that produces a lot of gold. It looks like we could trade with Istanbul, but that city might swap back to independent, so I might look for someone else, like Rhodes again. 2 food, 4 production, 18 gold, 2 culture, 1 faith. That's a great trade route. It's going to help out a lot with Okayama. Lumber mill popped down in here in Fukushima, and that means this city now has a productive tile. It's not amazing, but it does kind of make up for the huge lack of production in this city. I might even put a lumber mill here, although I might wait before I fully develop the city because I am pretty close to conservation, which is going to open up a lot of options for me to make this flat land into like really, really useful land. I might be able to get a kill here on this quadrireme, and I am, so we have now opened up this border, and this guy has a promotion, which will allow me to sort of take advantage of his position. Gorgo thinks that my empire poses no threat, which is honestly a big mistake on her part, and I really should take a moment here to look around to see who wants to buy things from me. I'd have a decent amount of strategic resources, especially Niter is a fairly new one that I can sell off. There's colonialism. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my scout away from this, but I'm hopeful that the archer can escape and maybe get a bit of healing done. We did just pick up a new Civic, and so temporarily I'm going to plug in the 50% production towards settlers just for a few turns while I chop out a settler down here in Kobe. How close are we to the next era? We're about 11 turns away, and usually you take the minimum amount of time. So we're going to get to work on the settler in here, and we're going to harvest twice. So I'll make sure I buy this tile. Probably won't be enough to get this out because it's 120 production, and they take 500 right now. So this city is going to take a very long time to get this settler out. It's probably not worth building it at this point, but harvesting it out I think is a worthwhile thing to do because it'll pay dividends in the long run. Holy site completed in Yokohama. I think I would like to build something, but it's probably faster just to focus on like small things like ancient walls and then just purchase some of these things in here. Like maybe I could hard build the shipyard, it would take 25 turns, or I could just purchase the shipyard, immediately get +5 production, then look up here in my culture tree and then plug in the the naval infrastructure card and get +10 production in here. So that's probably what we're going to do. We're not going to hard build the shipyard. I'm going to be purchasing them where I can. The hard part is I'm kind of pressed for what I want to do with my gold. I'm going to get ancient walls in here primarily just to defend this city. This city is a little bit of a sacrificial city until I get the rest of my economy online. So, you know, it's just going to have to sit there and kind of accept its fate in the short term. I do have about 100 diplomatic favors, so it's probably worthwhile coming in here and having a chat with people, seeing who wants to buy 100 diplomatic favor for a reasonable amount of gold. Korea will pay about 50 gold for 100, which is round about the median that I would expect, and it looks like Gorgo doesn't have enough money to really make a trade. Arabia doesn't really have enough money to make a trade, and I think Sumeria is basically broke as well, although they might pay a good deal for 100 diplomatic favors. So it looks like Korea and Sumeria pay about the same. The Ottomans are completely broke, and I think Korea is like the bigger threat this game for me. So I want to take gold from them if at all possible, because diplomatic favor doesn't really make an AI more threatening to me. And that extra 50 gold per turn is a pretty significant amount. It's about a 12% increase in my current gold that I get every turn. So I'm more than happy to take that deal. If we go ahead and refresh, I should be making about 320 gold per turn, which means I can buy an amphitheater about every 2 turns and buy a museum every 3 turns. So that's a pretty good clip. I also just picked up a bit of gold from stealing. I would like to upgrade, in particular, Technologist can be pretty good, so I'll go ahead and take that one. And I want to just keep continuously stealing gold and keep pumping out the other things. Let's go ahead and siphon funds in here. Unit needs orders down here. Of course, just doing a little bit of exploration. And the good news is Korea does in fact have coastal cities that I'll be able to attack if she does indeed become a problem with regards to winning a scientific victory. And it kind of looks like she's going to be a bit of a problem, so we'll have to work on that. We'll do another chop here in Kobe, bringing this settler down to 12 turns, which is honestly a pretty reasonable number of turns to build a settler in, all things considered. We have 1,389 gold in the bank, which means up here, for example, in Yokohama, purchasing the shipyard is a very good proposition because it's going to give this city +5 production. Eventually it'll be +10. And that's a really, really valuable amount of gold to have because it'll complete basically everything else in here in a reasonable amount of turns now. I'd say 18 to 20 turns is pretty good clip for these museums. Ideally, you would want to get that as close to 10 turns as possible. But I just have a really low production empire. So in this particular city, we are going to hard build our archaeological museum. I think I never really appreciated just how strong Japan's economy can be with mass, even just the sort of coastal economy of Japan is way stronger than I gave it credit for because I'm generating a lot of gold from my cities. Actually, roughly half my income is coming from trade deals and roughly half of it is coming from actual yields from my tiles, which is usually that skews a little bit more towards the trade deals. I just haven't been getting that many lucrative trade deals this game. So I'm pleasantly surprised by Japan's ability to spread around the coast here. And this is actually a very interesting game because I'm in a bit of a precarious situation, right? I have a very strong empire, all things considered, right? But it's only strong because of the sheer size of it. I have so many cities scattered along the coast, but I have a lot of tactical and strategic problems. I'm basically sort of an amoeba engulfing Greece. And so if the relationship with Greece ever breaks down, I'm in, pretty deep water. But on the other hand, if Greece ever becomes a problem, I'm in position to attack Greece from any side that I choose. And have loyalty in position, ready to go at the drop of a hat. So I think I'm in a position that I would probably describe as kind of strong, but equally sort of vulnerable. I'm in a very strong position, but it's a very vulnerable position. I have a lot of things that could go wrong that could really screw me. It looks like Sumeria's army has basically just completely collapsed, which is potentially a problem if they're still at war with the Ottomans and the Ottomans kind of decide to kill Sumeria. That might be a big problem for me. So in Fukuoka, I have finished the builder. I will place down the very first lumber mill, which is a great use of this builder charge because it's going to give the city an extra 2 production, which means that it'll complete things like the archaeological museum and the art museum in a few turns sooner. I would definitely like to pick up some of these things like temples, synagogues, workshops and stuff like that. But again, the archaeological museum and the art museum are just a really, really high priority for me. In particular, I really want an art museum, but I'm going to hard build the archaeological museum and see if I can maybe purchase an art museum in a slightly weaker city, like for example Takamatsu. So in preparation for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to purchase the lighthouse in here, and I'm also, does this city actually already have a trader? That's an important question. Takamatsu does not already have a trader, so I'll go ahead and purchase the trader in here, and then I'll purchase the shipyard, and then I'll purchase the art museum. So that's kind of like the plan right here. So I may as well grab the amphitheater right now because that's valuable, and I basically want to be churning my gold into useful things as soon as I can, and then generating as much gold as possible. That's kind of the objective here. Pick up an extra 60 faith from that tribal village. Not sure how that tribal village lasted so long, but it is what it is. And we found even more tribal villages. Starting to get some really good exploration. We know a lot about the world. The big problem is that Korea kind of spawned very far away from me, except by naval routes, and there's only really one city that I can get a landing on, which is Jinju. So if I do end up having to attack her, that's going to have to be through Jinju. Now, I do have access to a great musician right now. That's a bit of a problem because I don't have a way to house that great work of music unless I go ahead and pick up something like the Bolshoi Theater and there's another one I can't remember the name of, Broadway. So I might go ahead and try to build these. Now that I have natural history, I'm going to swing back for naval tradition, and then I might swing up for opera and ballet so we can try to build a Bolshoi Theater, although that is a very expensive wonder. That's very difficult to build. This is probably where I'm going to buy my art museum. Petra is about to finish, which will turn Osaka into a useful city, and I can give these tiles back to Shizuoka. In the meantime, I would like a trade route in here. I would also maybe consider getting an industrial zone. This industrial zone covers quite a few of my cities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Covers Takamatsu up to Yokohama and Kyoto, but it doesn't quite cover these three. So if I were to get an industrial zone right here, for example, on this tile, that's a +6 industrial zone. That would provide adjacency bonuses for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll cover all 4 of these cities in an industrial zone. And Okayama is just probably going to have to accept the fact that it's never going to get powered this game. Similarly, in Gifu, is there a tile that I can play? Well, Takamatsu is already covered, so maybe an industrial zone in between these two cities would be good, and then an industrial zone somewhere in Mohenjo-Daro would cover these 3 cities, and then Fukushima might just have to accept. So probably have a few industrial zones that I still want to build in this game. Not overly concerned about it, and I also need to start considering I'm going to need some great scientist points. So that's something I've been definitely neglecting that I need to be really, really careful about, because Mary Leakey is a incredibly powerful great scientist, in particular for a culture victory. Let's go ahead and come over to Kobe and purchase ourselves one final settler. Now we can use our fate to purchase builders. So I'm thinking, if I have a little goo, which is a word for looking around, where could I use a builder right now? Okay. Looking around, I don't really have any good positions for builders, so I might just go ahead and purchase them in Shizuoka, just to have the extra 1 build charge on them, so there's 6 build charges. A little bit disappointed that I didn't get my hands on the pyramids, but you don't always get your way. Sometimes you just have a particularly weak start. And I really do need to stress, how good your start is will actually have a ripple effect on your entire game. I am tempted to settle a city in and around here, because this would basically give me control of this pass, which means any sort of naval action against me is impossible. Now I'm curious, can I actually build some of these wonders? Now, the Hermitage is a really, really good wonder to pick up. It's very, very expensive though, is a bit of a problem. A lot of these take a long time to build, and I'm just not sure it's worthwhile. The Hermitage would take 60 turns. That's almost half of the turns that I would estimate are left in this game, right? Based on the current rate of tourism that I'm going to be picking up over the next little while. Yeah, so I'm not sure that's going to be the right way forward. Now, we have completed the theater square up here. I would like to get the shipyard. It's probably going to get purchased. What I'll do is I'll hard build the amphitheater. That's worth about 600 gold. So that seems pretty reasonable to me. That means I can just straight up purchase the museum. I'm also going to go ahead and pick up the granary in here, and I'll probably place down the harbour, because that just represents a huge amount of gold for me. And having a really strong gold economy, I just find that to be a really fun way to play, is to have an uber strong gold economy. And I might see if I can settle 3 cities around here and form a sort of block that'll control the local area. Getting some fantastic exploration up here. So we know basically everything about the world. And it looks like we got a little bit unfortunate because we got kind of crammed into a bit of a crappy corner in between 3 different civs. Whereas these 2 guys over here, they got a much more favorable start. As far as I can tell, Arabia goes from here all the way down to the south, and Korea goes from here-ish all the way up to the north-ish. So they got much more favorable land, whereas we kind of spawned in tundra off coast, which is less than ideal, but I think we're kind of making it work for ourselves. This volcano has not erupted in a while, but it's still providing really good yields. But I'm kind of dubious as to whether I should upgrade these tiles, because I'm just worried that that builder investment that I put into them will just get erased by a single eruption. So again, like I said, I'm just a little bit dubious about the value of upgrading those. What I'm going to do instead is I will use these builder charges to get Okayama a little bit more production. Now, Yokohama up here as well could probably use another productive tile, so I'll send my builder up there to help that city out as well. And I think I'll be able to get one more builder purchase off this era, which I feel like I got a lot of value out of this golden age. I think it made a big difference in my game, so I'm very, very happy that I managed to get that golden age and that I was able to pull it off just by grabbing a religion and spreading it fairly early into the game. So now, at this point in the game, colonization, as great as it is, it's going to have to go for the Harbour District adjacency bonuses. That's going to represent a huge amount of gold in production, especially as I start ramping up my production of harbours, in particular in places like Takamatsu, for example. If I get the shipyard in here, that's 10 production. That nearly doubles the city's production, as well as providing a little bit of production on the fishing tiles and stuff like that. That turns the city into an absolute beast who can build things like art museums and archaeological museums very, very quickly. I think I'm actually kind of tempted to build the art museum rather than purchase it. But I do still need to be conscious of building medieval walls, because I am very, very quickly coming up to the ideology mark, which will disable my 100% production towards wall production. So as much as I really, really want these, well, I'll pick up one. I'll pick up the archaeological museum and then go for medieval walls. How about that? That seems like a pretty reasonable pathway to go. We also picked up another great writer, which is fantastic. Need as many of those as I can get. And is there a local? There you go. Pop that great work of writing in there. And this great artist is going to swing down to Shizuoka, where I plan to purchase an art museum. I've also got a musician around here. Not much I can do with him in the meantime. This city has finished quite a lot of stuff. It needs a lot of work, but it definitely needs a builder as well. So let's go to Shizuoka. Go ahead and faith purchase that builder. And we'll get to work on Sendai in the near future. I think I'm just going to get to work on ancient walls and stuff like that. It's about that time. Like I've been delaying it for as long as possible, even with the Limes card plugged in. But I think I just really can't afford to delay it anymore, because I'm very quickly approaching picking up conservation, which is when walls start actually generating tourism, which is a really, really important milestone. Now, Nanami here is going to take the con artist promotion, so they steal gold more effectively. So they're good at stealing technology and stealing gold, and in general, they're just a fairly high level. I'm going to pop a mine down here in Okayama. Again, just trying to emphasize getting productive tiles. We are working this less than useful, in my opinion, harbor tile. Now, they do provide a little bit of food in the harbor tiles, but I think I would much rather work, like, for example, these 3 productive tiles down here rather than that one. So if we can get those improved, I'll be very happy. And I also, since I am playing in the top half of the tech tree, I might go ahead and pick up shipyards this game. We did finish Petra. Okay, that's brilliant. That's going to trigger a few changes here. Shizuoka is going to go ahead and take back its productive tiles from Osaka, because Osaka now has like good tiles to work in general. The city is going to go ahead and build a granary. And I'm also going to go ahead and place myself a really, really nice theater square in this city. So we'll get to work on all that stuff. In terms of Mohenjo-Daro has managed to finish its theater square. It's a little bit weak on the productive side, so I would be tempted to purchase a shipyard in here. I do have a settler kind of swinging around past. But I'm just going to work in ancient walls. Ancient walls are kind of like filler things that I'm doing right now. I also want to get a bunch of water parks. Water parks generate a lot of tourism, which I'm really, really excited to get those online. They're really good for generating culture and tourism. Let's go ahead and keep moving this quadrireme around. I think I've basically done all the exploration that I'm going to be able to manage with these boats, so I might just send them back to garrison some of my cities. Let's go ahead, and we're up to stealing 744 gold per steel in Cairo, which is great. More gold to fuel my gold purchasing economy. I do have some things that I could sell. Let's go ahead and have a little bit of a chat with people. So you actually don't have any niter. How much would you pay for that? You'll pay 6 gold per turn for 20 niter, and will you buy another set of 20 off me? And you will. So that's 12 gold per turn that I just picked up just to sell off a little bit of niter. Now, you could argue that I'm giving access to a strategic resource to the AI, which is in of itself probably not the best idea, but it's not that big of a deal. And I think there is an argument to be made for some really nice things in here. I'm going to place the harbor right there. Some really nice national parks is what I was trying to say there. Okay, builder completed, or rather, builder has arrived in Yokohama, and I definitely want to get some more productive tiles online. We are heading into a normal age, which, you know, is not ideal and perfect, and there's probably a couple of things that I could have done to get myself a little bit more era score, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up something straightforward. I think I'll pick up Heartbeat of Steam. I'm getting to the point in the tech tree where I'll start researching and building sort of industrial era technologies, probably not for a little while. But we are making up to 57 tourism per turn, and we have open borders with basically everyone in the game. Let me go ahead and double check that I have open borders with everyone, just to make sure that I'm not missing out on any potential tourism that I could be getting. Yeah, okay, so I have open borders with everyone. The other thing now that I would maybe want to be considering is getting trade routes with everyone, which is where these cities down here are going to come in handy, because otherwise I would have a very hard time trading with Korea and Arabia. Looks like there's a religious emergency. I'm going to add that proposal. It'll cost me 30 diplomatic favor. It might trigger some people to actually go after them. Shizuoka here. Now, I'm curious, are any of the AIs actually close to winning in any great way? Actually, Arabia is doing really good on the religion side of things, which is a little bit concerning because I don't have my religion anymore to fight back. The only place that I would maybe be able to get it is in Yokohama. They have Taoism, and they're all the way over here. I'm actually surprised they walked all the way over here. So it might be in my best interest Although Arabia seems to be doing pretty well defending. But yeah, I'll probably go ahead and see if I can't participate in that religious emergency. And I'll probably come up here, see if I can grow the city to 10 population, grab myself the holy site upgrade. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll just get a shrine. I'm going to cancel the archaeological museum. I get to work on a shrine and a temple in here because I'm just a little bit worried. This is the very first time I've ever seen, maybe the second or third time at most, that I've ever seen a civilization really threat a religion victory. And I'm in a position to sort of defend myself. I just need to have a few of my cities converted, and then that'll kind of prevent that. So we'll go ahead and get to work on that. But that's going to be it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.